Cassandra is a transdisciplinary artist, designer, performer, and human being born in perdóname, por favor, Zacuatlayot, Michoacán, home of El Tlahualil, El Huarache, y El Sombrero, located in Purupecha and Nahuatlaca territory. They have been a guest nurtured and socialized by Ohlone lands from the age of 7. Their project maps ancestral rhythms of Chapalac, an ancestor on the largest standing lake in so-called Mexico. They remember relationship between the lake and their ancestors through historical memory, language, and cultural legacies that live on. Please give a warm welcome to Cassandra.
Hello, everybody. Oh, thank you, Yaya, and other beautiful human being for your help. Sorry, quick question. How long do I have? 10? Okay, cool. Can I get like a warning when I have to? Okay, cool. Amazing. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone who made this happen, to the BAAITS team, and to the ancestors who have led me here to Chapalac. Thank you. Tlazokamati. So, as Cristal shared, I will be sharing on Chapalac. Who is Chapalac? Chapalac is the largest standing body of water in so-called Mexico today. And its history is deeply rooted, as you can see on this map, on the body of the earth. And this is part of my larger project called Architecture of Spirit and mapping ancestral rhythms. In this background photo, you'll see Zacuatlayot, which is where I was born. And you can actually see the like, well, I don't know if you can see, but back there, the lake used to reach my hometown. It's no longer that way. A lot of it has dried out. But, there's a deeply rooted history within my veins and this lake. Next. All right, so this project, as people have mentioned, has been complicated because colonialism has been complicated. And I remember another architect also mapping ancestral rhythms mentioned something about to understand how to decolonize, we need to understand the effects of colonialism first, and like what they did, what has happened, etc. And so in also doing research about Chapalac, and like what I wanted to do in creating a map, and in mapping, what I wanted to map is all of the historical documents that were available to me are from the colonial period and onward. So I'm going to give you a little history lesson on this area. So this is the site plan that I used to create this embroidered map, but this is from 1816. And next. And these are colonial cartographies. All of these showcase this region. So where the heart is I outlined where Chapalac is. And this is the oldest I could find. And this is from colonial times, and you can see a lot of the buildings that are mapped here are churches. But this one specifically also shows indigenous peoples and kind of like this relationship with the land. Next slide. All right, so from this one on, you can really see this colonial ideology of what mapping is, of what cartography is, which is like to delineate, to like take a screenshot of what is there for purposes of imperialism, for land grabs, to divide the land, to create borders, etc., to imperialize. And again, you'll see Chapalac on these maps. This map specifically, if you didn't know, there are different flavors of colonialism. So like in what we know as Mexico Tenochtitlan, which is Mexico City, that was Nueva España, and this area that I'm mapping, it was known as Nueva Galicia. So those were the colonizers. in this area. Next. All right, again, this map is outlining the resources, is what they saw, the resources, the mountains, and kind of like took away the aliveness of place. Again, this is Nueva Galicia. In the eyes of the colonizer, this whole territory, which now encompasses what is called Colima, Jalisco, Zacatecas, and maybe a little bit of Guanajuato, I think, potentially. Next. All right, so this is the map that I utilized, the oldest I could find that actually remembers what the land looked like 200 years ago. So if you can see where the heart is, that's Zacuatlayot, that's where I was born. That's where my ancestors have lived for at least 4 generations, and they have lived around this area for longer than I can remember. But the lake does not look like this right now. That whole area where the next to the heart is no longer there. But yeah, this is kind of like some of that memory that I could find of what has been here before me. Next. Another colonizer map, very ugly. Next. Another colonizer map. This one is more modern when they were creating the nation states. So this one specifically from Jalisco, which it's also a really interesting area because it borders Jalisco. Oh, thank you. So I was like, we can just lay it on the floor. And they were like, no, we need a display. So I really appreciate y'all taking turns. That's really sweet. All right, so this Jalisco, oh yeah, it borders Jalisco and Michoacan. So this is like, generationally, historically, this area of Chapalac is very interesting. And I'll share more on that after. Next. All right, and so we have the mother of all colonial, or the parent of all colonial cartographies, which is Google Maps. And so I'm just gonna read, knowledge comes from power, and if these maps are only sources of spatial history, then as a society, we remain quite powerless in the face of colonial information structures. Again, understanding what colonialism has done. This is what colonialism has done. Google Maps. Say it louder for Silicon Valley. Next. And that's, oh wait, go back, sorry. And that's Chapala and the Sahuayo, where you see Sahuayo right there. I can't move, but that's where I was born. And you can see that it looks different, like the water doesn't go all the way down anymore. Yeah, that's the contrast. All right, next. All right, so after understanding like what are colonial cartographies, I had to understand what are post-pre, anti-D, beyond colonial cartographies, and so I did more research on that. Next. And this map came up again. This was created during colonial times, but there are some traces of indigenous eye, indigenous technique, which you can really see specifically, or not specifically, but also by the orientation, which up isn't north, up is east-ish in this map. And so that is, a way that ancestors of this land, of Anahuac, and a lot of ancestors from this land, Anahuac and Turtle Island, saw had a perception of this land. Next. All right, so there's a lot of códices, well, not a lot. There's a few códices because a lot of them were burnt, as we know, but this is one Códice Quetzalcantzin, which talks about, which utilizes a type of pictographic language. A Nahuatlacat pictographic language describes historical events and geographic relationships. So it's not only mapping land, it's not only mapping lakes and cactus and trees, it's also like mapping lineages, it's mapping history, it's mapping place and time. Next. All right, I'm gonna move through these fast because I don't have that much time left, but again, we see ancestral pictographic language within these maps. Next. Next. I love this one. And like this one is like a 10-page book that talks about like 4 centuries of history. Next. A few. All right, thanks. Yay, okay. In doing more research, I found embroidery as a form of cartography within specifically Purépecha people in Tzintzuntzan, Michoacán. They give land life, they give relationship, they portray the like ecological relationship that our indigenous ancestors have inherited to us. Right, next. All right, and beyond your here, if you don't know this project, you should look it up. A cartographer, como se dice, paired up with Sogorete Land Trust, and they created this project mapping the Bay Area, like in a cartography beyond colonial terms. So you should check this project out, it's really cool. So this was part of my research. Next. And in indigenous cartography, a map doesn't have to be a physical image laid out on paper. It can be a story or a song that describes important places, landmarks, and people and people's relationship to the land. So I found that, well, I didn't find the song, but there's this song called Chapala that talks about the position of the sun and the moon in relationship to perception of place. So this is also a form of cartography that I was very happy to find. It's there. Next. All right, so now I had to figure out who was here before, right? Next. And this is a beautiful map created by Rocio Moreno, a Coca historian, that delineates Coca territory, which is north of El Lago de Chapala. Next. This one is a little bit older, and this one delineates Coca territory and Tecuache territory on top of that. Next. And the app that we love because it's a framework that we can utilize. Next. All right, so now I'm documenting, and here's what I've gathered. Next. All right. So I created this map that kind of delineates the different groups that were here, which is the Coca, with the Pat, the Purépecha, with the Cempasúchil. And then these, I think, is Caxcanes with the little mountain that I found from a codice that was describing their history. The Tecuaches with the little spears because they were known to hunt. And the Guamares with the fire, because fire was central to, to their cosmography. Next. And again, you can see that I'm remembering this seeing east as up. And in this map, I'm utilizing names. They have some remain, some have changed and shifted with time. For example, my hometown with the turtle at the top is now known as Saguayo, but before it was called Zacuatlayot, and that means turtle basin, right? So there we can understand the geography of the land, what has been there, and remember it through the language that has, prevailed and that has been left. And, we have a lot of them like Mazamitla, where deer are hunted, Ocotlan, the place of Ocote, firewood, and so on. Next. All right, so this is more on what is here today within the regions around. Next. So Zacuatlayot, again, the basin of Turtle Basin, which is where I was born. We have something known as Los Tlahualiles, and come to find out, Tlahuilcoat, it's actually thunder in Nahuatl. So from my understanding, what the ancestors left us was this technology where people during this time, July and August of rain season, where the crops need rain to grow, they would actually they actually had this understanding of the relationship between thunder, rain, and the way that us kind of like activating that force through our dancing made it rain, made it thunder, right? So that is something that unfortunately, like, people don't consciously remember that, but thanks to what has been left, thanks to the research that I have been able to do, this is something that has prevailed, and something that I'm hoping to uplift for people to like truly understand. It's not just a party. We're not just getting together and getting drunk. Like, this is science. This is science, and this is helping us survive, literally. Next. So in another town on the northern part of the lake called Ashixic and Chapalac, they actually have a creation story based on, she's called Mishisiwali, and she's like the feminine essence of fish, which talks about kind of like the whole cycle of the lake, the pluvial cycle, and like what the whole relational ecology of the lake, which is really cool because, you know, it's part of spirituality, it's science, and it's art, and it's like, it's beautiful and amazing. Next. In Mezcala, they remember these two beings, La Viejanola, which they have practices where when it's not raining, they do a pilgrimage to La Nola, to this mountain, to offer water and ask for rain. So that's one of them. And they also know this water being called El Chan del Agua. So they actually pray to El Chan del Agua. They ask permission to El Chan del Agua. They offer to El Chan del Agua to ask for fish. You know, they give them offering. They have this other practice called Nekakastequistli, which means I cut my ear, and they give blood offerings in little pots to the lake as this reciprocal exchange. Next. And there's this other practice in Jamay, which is also on the like eastern side of the lake. Like they celebrate Corpus Christi, which is Christian and Catholic, but like this is how they dress up, right? So there isn't that like conscious memory, but there is that deeply rooted memory of like who we are and why we are doing these practices, who we are giving reverence to, which is obviously the fish, the water being that is nurturing us, that is giving us life, and we need to return that to them. Next. All right. And lastly, Xocotepec. I couldn't find much on relationship to the lake, but Xocotepec is literally like Tepec is mountain. And they celebrate this, they celebrate Jesus and call him El Señor del Monte, the mountain guardian. So we all know where that comes from. It comes from this relationship to the mountain and this exchange with the mountain and everything the mountain holds. Next. So to conclude, don't just follow your ancestors, follow what your ancestors followed, which is a quote from a teacher, Akashe, from Machtia Tolteca, who always reminds us it's not just about what the ancestors do, it's what they followed, and being able to understand that deeply as foundational to moving forward in a beyond colonial society. Thank you for your attention. And Yat Lasakamati to the ancestors.
Well, before you move off the stage, like, does anyone have a question? I think we have time for like one or comment.
Question or comment? Yay.
Right here with Kate, and then afterwards, yeah? Okay. We need the mic because. Oh, yeah, we need the mic. Okay. Is this one? Yeah, it's just far. There you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you. This was really amazing. I was wondering what surprised you most when you were coming up doing this research, like particularly from like an emotional perspective, like personally.
I think what surprised me most is both the historical remembrance and the historical amnesia that exists. Like, it's astounding how much we still hold and carry, but like how much unconsciousness exists around her because of the trauma of colonialism, specifically in this area. Like, I know everywhere, but like this area has history of something called las guerras cristeras. So there was a lot of war here, there was a lot of bloodshed. Like, I've heard my family members victimized by the church. Like, I heard this story of an ancestor who was working building a church, and like he was chained to the church, right? Like, it was slave labor that they were using. But like, you know, my ancestors tell this story, but they don't realize the impact of Catholicism. Like, they're all Catholics. And I'm like, how can you tell me this story and not realize what the Catholic Church has done, are still a devotee, right? So I think it's that, like, the stark, como se dice, like, this clash between remembrance and amnesia. Yeah, that's emotionally, it has brought up a lot of grief, because I'm like, whoa, like, everything's still here, and at the same time I'm like, oh, like, there's a lot missing. I can feel that in my body. I can feel that in my soul, in my spirit. Yeah. Thank you for that question. Thank you.
So, Kamochawe, for your presentation. That was incredible. I'm really fascinated by the work that you've done. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about your research method. How did you find this information? I'm just really interested of your process.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your question. It's been a journey. Like, literally, Mishi Siwali came to me in a dream, and from there, the research started. Like, I literally had a dream where, like, I heard Aya Siwali, something Siwali, and I looked it up on Google, and Mishi Siwali came up, and I was like, whoa, right? So that opened a door for, like, it opened the land gauge, you know, the language, for me to understand what to look up. And it kind of was a process from there. I've been taking courses with Machtia Tolteca, which centers on, they center on, like, Mexico, Tenochtitlan area, but, you know, a lot of intercultural exchange. So finding teachers, allowing myself to find teachers, allowing myself to do that research. The language, you know, there's surprisingly a lot of information online, but you need to have the keywords, right? So Mishi Siwali was a gateway. I also took a Nahuatl class, so that has helped a little bit. But it is complicated. I've been traveling to Mexico a lot, so I found a lot there also in books and in oral histories, honestly. A lot of oral histories on, like, I have the oldest living member of my family, she's 93. And yeah, she remembers, you know, the after effects of the Mexican Revolution. And that's literally when a lot happened after that, you know, when the education system was created and a lot of the indigenous languages were lost. So I think, yeah, just like starting somewhere and trusting, because there's no other way to say, I don't like to learn from just anybody. So the teachers that I have been able to find, they carry some sort of truth that I can just feel and sense and appreciate, and a transparency and like a type of honor with the knowledge. Yeah, and my teacher always says, the knowledge is there. It's just a matter of like having the eyes and the ears. Yeah. Gracias, Mati, for the question again. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who held the banner. There's a little map that I printed out, if you'd like, and some words on the process over there. And follow me, Architecture of Spirits, on the IG. Thank you all.